Hey y'all, happy Sunday and welcome to this week's live Q&A session. This is the portion of the show where we allow YouTube to send out notifications that we're going live. If you're watching this live Q&A on replay, please scrub ahead until this graphic disappears and the actual show begins. If you're watching live and you have any comments or questions, please go ahead and put them in the live chat. But for now, grab a beverage, sit back, and relax while the countdown timer does its thing. Then we'll get started. Hey y'all, hope everybody is doing well. Happy Sunday. It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood. Not too hot out there yet, but we shall see. there's always time for it to change. And change it does, change it will. In fact, I was told many, many years ago the only thing that stays the same is that everything's going to change. Well, anyhow, yeah, today is an open Q&A. Uh, we're free to talk about anything, answer any questions that you may have, or just generally BS and enjoy the company. Um, I don't really have anything special. That brings up another subject that we'll get into in just a minute. But first, I want to say hello to and give a special shout out to my friend Steve over at Hardeal Media. I've been singing the praises of Hardeal Media for a long time now, and some of you are listening. At least according to Steve, some of you are reaching out to him, and I'm really happy to hear that. If you're even thinking about uh, possibility of getting a website, maybe a web store, maybe you have products and services you want to offer to the public at large, or maybe behind the scenes you're thinking about some um, affiliate programs or maybe even some sponsorships if you have a YouTube channel. Well, most of them require you to have a working website that's updated frequently. And there's nobody I will ever refer other than Steve over at Hardeal Media. He's very, very competitively priced. And after a while, you wonder how he gets away so cheap. Um, it is 100% personalized service, meaning that when you're talking to anybody at Hardeal Media, you're talking to Steve, and he's going to give you that personal attention, and that really makes the difference. He can do as much or as little as you'd like. If you're a seasoned veteran and you know how to run a website, he can just stay in the background and handle updates and things of that nature. If you're like me and have no idea what you're doing with a website, he can help you too, and basically do as much as you want. So, if you're thinking about a website, a web store where you can offer your products or services at large, or if you're thinking about designing some merch, baseball caps, T-shirts, whether they involve a YouTube channel or not, Steve can hook you up with a print on demand company that can handle all the orders, that can handle all the shipping, handle all the collecting of taxes, etc. You just sit back and watch the orders come in. So do yourself a favor. Head over to harneilmedia.com. There's a link in the description of this live stream and every video and live stream on my channel, and it's going to stay that way for a reason. Thank you very much, Steve, for everything you do, both in front of the scenes and behind the scenes. I really appreciate you more than you'll ever know. So, the big question that everybody's been asking for the last couple of weeks is how's the MiniSplit going? Well, the MiniSplit is going just great. There it is, right there up on the top of the wall. Had to take down my Route 66 sign, and don't know where I'm going to put it, but it needs a good home. Maybe I'll put it up back in the background over here. I've got the Mark Lindsay over here. Maybe I'll put it up opposite. I'm still kind of figuring out wall art in here. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe I'll hang up all the license plates from the old vehicles that I've collected over the years. That might be cool. Who knows? We'll see. So, any comments, questions, concerns that anybody has? I think 8th Center brought up a good question up above here. But I don't know if I don't think I don't think my streaming platform caught it. I think it had scrolled back. Basically, I think it scrolled beyond. what my broadcasting platform. Um, anyway, he was asking about mounting glass. He's experimenting with mounting glass to the table and using a glass cutter in a machine mounted a pivot mechanism similar to a drag knife. And he's wondering about securing glass to his spoil board. What would be the best way? And I think you have the idea, Eighth Center. This is just me talking here. Just about anything that's going to hold the glass up above the spoil board, like painter's tape and CA glue, or a, um, a double-sided tape or something like that, unless you can cover the entire back of it, it's going to hold it up, and the pressure may tend to push down on the glass, cause it to crack or break where you don't want it to, because glass does have a grain, as I'm sure you know. I think about the best ways that I can think. I think you're on the right. I think you're on the right track with clamps around the edges to hold it flat and firm against the spoil board. Other than that, I can't think of another way to mount it where yeah, you've got another point here, tape too strong, but glass is very slick to grip. That's true, and anything that you can get to stick to the glass that's going to grip to it, it's going to be hard to remove later when you go to remove that piece without breaking it. So I think you're on the right track with the clamps, some nice low profile clamps to hold it down, because you're not, unlike wood, you're not putting a lot of sideways tension on it. It's mainly going to be pressure down. So it's not like there's a bit down in the glass trying to shove it off the table. Ouch. Yeah, there you go. Clamps with a rubber vinyl end that won't pressure it to crack. Yeah. Um, and Butch is true. Yeah, that might work if you have cover with full surface. I'll agree. But then again, anything that holds it down with an adhesive, it's going to be more difficult to remove the individual pieces without breaking that piece. So I'm thinking, and this is all theoretical because I've never done this. I've never used it to cut glass. My only reference, um, my only point of reference for cutting glass on the CNC is Michael Mazalik, who is he's a stained glass artist. And when I say artist, I mean artiste. The man is phenomenal. And he said he has tried cutting glass with the CNC. What methods? I have no idea. But he says he has tried cutting glass with the CNC and they didn't work. Now, I don't know, again, what methods he tried, but he says anything other than simple shapes was just, not, he couldn't get it to work. And he's been doing that. He's been doing stained glass work for years. I mean, well over 20 years, but I don't know. That's above my pay grade. Now, I see a few people talking about vacuum and vacuum tables and vacuum pods. I did mention that in the chat that is already scrolled by, and I can't highlight. And he said that's not in his budget right now. But yeah, vacuum would probably be ideal. So now Ray Russell says he's actually used his laser. I'd like to see some pics of that, Ray. That would be cool. I mean, some pretty cool ideas. Let's see now here. We have a couple questions that scrolled by. Maurice at Erickson Design and Woodworks. All that wood in the background. Hope you didn't turn the CNC to temporary wood storage. No. This is temporary. Basically, everything you see back there, um, that's a stack of 3/4 inch plywood. What this was shelves in a shop that was run by Linda's friend. And when they closed up the shop, they had all these shelves and no bookcases or anything to go into it, or for them to go into, rather. So I said, don't throw them out. I'll take them because that's project wood. So I took them shelves home. Well, they were stacked right back here on the floor. So when we ran the electrical for the MiniSplit, I had to clear all that stuff out so the electrician could get through there and run the wire. They just ended up on the CNC, and that's what can you say? I just haven't been able to get them pulled down. I successfully got all the roof panels back up. I got my desk rebuilt. I got the camera rig all set up again and everything. And then my doctor said, knock it off, because I'm still fighting the shingles virus. And I mean, I was down for basically I was down for about a week and a half and was told, no physical, nothing. You sit on your butt and watch YouTube all day. So I did. Well, now I'm getting back to where I can actually do stuff. So, that's an option. I just haven't gotten to it yet. So no, it's not temporary wood storage. They somebody in here who was saying it. Where is the CNC? It is right there. The Avid CNC is right there. And I mean, I can't reach out and touch it. I'm about 4 feet away from it, but it takes up most of the shop. Yeah, I may or may not use my 5x10 as a temporary workbench. Because of the size of my shop, I have to use it as a workbench. This surface and my table saw are temporary workbench, So it's you got to do what you got to do. What can you say? Have I become more ambidextrous? No, just the opposite. I have become more ambisinistrous. Ambidextrous means you're great with both hands. Ambisinistrous means you're crap with both hands, and that's me. So, to Maurice's point about using it as a workbench, early in my CNC adventure, about 5, 6, 7 years ago, I talked to a few people that had 8x4 machines, and they said to me that they kind of regret building 8x4 machines simply because what they've turned into was the world's most expensive storage spaces, because most everything they cut is about 30 by 30. So they never use even 4 feet wide. And with, hindsight being 2020, they'd have probably built 4x4 or 2x4 machines. So, in fact, I have a Our buddy John Thompson is going through that decision right now on whether or not he wants another 4x4 or he wants something a little bit smaller because you just don't use it. Let's see. Pete over at Nature's Live Edge is asking, have you thought about asking Jace from Airweights to be a guest? I have. I've seen him on Garrett's live stream, Garrett Fromey's Wednesday live hangout, and he seems to be a real friendly guy. And my thing is, I just don't know if I want to go that route. I have no problem having him on as a guest. I just don't know if a vacuum table is in my future, mainly because of space. There's just not a lot of room here. I'm in a 12 by 16 shed, and I'm slowly running out of. I thought I had future proofed. Turns out I didn't future proof enough. And while my electrician was here, I should have had him run me another line on the back wall and on this wall here, right about there, because I'm slowly running out of capacity. I got all four walls are each on their own 20 amp circuit. But on this wall, I have the computer that runs the CNC. I have, what else do I got over here? Oh my God, I got the computer that runs. Well, actually, I have just freed some up, so maybe I could run a vacuum pump. Yeah, maybe I could run a vacuum pump. I freed a bunch up, not having to run that room AC. Well, anyway, I mean, this is way behind baseball, or inside baseball. No, I'm not opposed to having him on, so maybe I'll reach out to him. Is that somebody you would be interested in seeing? Because I get my ideas from you guys, and so I like your input. Would you like for me to ask Jace to be a guest? I'm open. But if nobody's interested in him being a guest, I don't know what more he could add to the discussion, but sure, I'll have him. Okay, the AirPods would be interesting. Okay. Um, yeah. You're the first one to notice it, Maurice. The pencil sharpener right there. Sometimes old school is still the best school. You know what I mean? It's let's see. Okay, got a couple more. Yes, yes, yes. All right. We'll see what we can do. We'll see what we can do. I'll reach out to him. We had a couple more questions up here. I guess I didn't get it caught quick enough. Let's see. I'm trying to find the question. It scrolled past. I was asked. Well, Greg at STL Woodworks asked if I was going to AWFS in Vegas. Short answer is no. The long answer is not this year, but I do have plans. We're already planning to go next year. So I guess you're getting ready to head out, Greg. You got a lot longer of a trip than I do. But because what we would do, and we're already planning it, we've got friends down in the Reno, Carson City area. We would go down to Reno, spend the night there, and then drive from Reno down to Vegas. So next year we will be there. I am planning on it. So and I still can't find it. I've been scrolling all over the place. I know he asked the question, but no, I won't be at AWFS, and we'll be driving. We're gonna use the veterans cheat code and stay at Nellis Air Force Base and then drive to the venue every day. So yes, it will be a 395 trip. We'll go down to I-5 to, I think it's right around McLeod, and then take that shot. I want to say it's 44 uh, through the woods, over the river and through the woods. And then finally 395 from Susanville down to Reno. So let's see here. I did see that question, Brooks. Thank you. I'm going to be getting to that one. And in fact, let's take care of that. Let me find it. There it is. When changing the nodes, like the arc tool, with the bitmap turned off, once I hit preview and close, the bitmap is turned back on, even if turned off and a different layer is highlighted. Does it every time. Send an email to tech support at Vectric. You might need a patch, but that shouldn't happen. That's something internal. Once I hit preview and close, the bitmap is turned back on, even if you have that layer. That layer should not be turned back on by itself. Okay. Because when you import a bitmap into, doesn't matter if it's VCarve, Aspire, Cut 2D, doesn't matter. When you import a bitmap into the software, it is placed on its own layer. That layer should not be turning back on unless you have a toolpath, possibly, unless you mistakenly have a toolpath associated with that layer. But I don't think that's what's going on. So I would shoot a email to Vectric support because a patch may be needed. So let's see here. JP wants to know, any tips to create a 3D model to carve a desktop using two different textures? I would like to use a rock-like texture and a flat area for regular text carving. What software are you using, JP? If you're using Aspire, I really have no tips to contribute. If you're using VCarve Desktop or VCarve Pro, remember that you're limited to one STL file. You can use as many elements from clip art, either from the Vectric stock Vectric clip art or design and make elements. You can use as many of those elements as you want. But in VCarve, you can only import one STL. So using two different textures, basically what you would do is figure out the area that you want to look like the rock, figure out that area as your background texture. And remember, the model models from the bottom up. Then the next area you would do is a rectangle with a flat area for text carving. Put that above that rock background. Then you'd have to do a little playing around with combine modes, etc. But you should be able to get both of those elements that you wish. And remember, when you place a texture, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself here. I need to know if you are using Aspire or VCarve. Because if you are using VCarve, you would have to use some creative level clipping. If you're using Aspire, you can draw a rectangle that you want for the flat area. and then use, well, let me just screen share here. Hold on. Rather than trying to talk you through it. And we will spotlight that. Okay. All right. JP says I'm using Aspire. Okay. What you can always do, this is a 12 by 12 sheet. Let's go into clip art and let's bring in a background texture. Let's go into texture area tiles. Just for giggles, see what we got. We've got stones. So put that in the middle here, back to the design tab. And I'm just going to hold down shift and expand that from the center so it's a little bit bigger than my project size. So now when I look in the 3D view, this is what I have. Okay. So we're looking at that as far as my model is concerned. Now I can come back into the 2D view because I prefer to do my work in the 2D view. A lot of people are digging the new 3D view. I can draw a rectangle, say right here. And close that rectangle, and I'm going to align it to the center of my material horizontally. So I got that. Now I can come down here into my modeling tools in Aspire and go right down here to the third row, second in. Clear the area of selected components. Nope, I don't want to go outside the vector. I want to go inside the selected vector. Third row, first icon. Make sure I have my rectangle selected and click that. Oh, I got to select the model first, then hold down shift and then select the vector. It doesn't know what to do otherwise. Then that'll clear the model inside that vector. So now when I look at it in the 3D view and I'll turn off my vectors, that's what I've got. Now, from here, you might want to do a little bit of sculpting or something to clean up rough edges, what have you. But that's how you can use a background and then eliminate a place within the model. Now, you could also, because you're using Aspire, let's go back into the 2D view. And we'll select that vector again. And we'll create a flat component here inside this vector. And let's see, what's my height here? My height is 0.24. Let's go ahead and make this 0.25. Well, that's 0.27. That's 2.8, 2.9. Let's make it 0.29. We'll make the base height 0.29. And we'll add because there's nothing there. And we'll create, close, and now look in the 3D view. And I have a flat area. I think I'd play with that a little bit. But you get the idea. So you could play with that to blend it in here and sculpt a little bit. I think that's what you were asking about. That's what I got from your question. But you can definitely work with that and play with it. So I see here Brooks Martin saying, I like the blue mode of view. That, Brooks, you come up here to edit, go down to options, and then scroll down to general settings here in the options, and come down to theme. And you have the drop down here, mine is set to blue. You click the drop-down menu. They also have the white default, white/gray default. I've selected the blue theme just because I prefer it. I like the higher contrast up here. And that'll get you the blue theme like I have. These icons are shaded in blue. And you turn them on and off. Now that I'm looking at it, RB Woodworks, if you have this turned on, turn on the bitmap, turn off the bitmap after you close the preview, that may be why you're seeing that bitmap come up. I didn't think about that. Look to see, do you have show the bitmap turned on when you're doing your preview or after you're finished with your preview. You can turn it off here, but also remember that it's on its own layer up here. And that layer should not be turning on when you go into or come out of preview. But if you have in your 3D view, if you have this icon turned on, it will come back up. I'm using my hands like you can see me now. So I hope that answered that question about the various different backgrounds. When you're using Aspire, it's a lot easier. Using VCarve, it's a lot tougher. Let's see here. Thurman Land says, when I import an eagle onto an American flag, how can I realign the stripes to it? At 82 years of age, I forgot how. Thanks. I'm not sure that I understand the question. If you're bringing an eagle over the top of the American flag, I'm guessing that well, let me ask, are you talking about two 3D models, or are you talking about 2D vectors? You have the vectors of the flag, and then you bring in vectors of an eagle over the top of it, because two different sources, two different situations, two different solutions. So I'll wait for you to clarify a little bit. Let's see here. Larry says, Mark, when you create a 3D image in VistaSculpt, is what VS is, and bring it into Aspire, you go through the material setup, it takes you to another screen. I know what that screen is named, but can you explain how to set it up? That is the import screen. So let me come back over here into Aspire. I'm going to hide your question here and go back over to the 2D view, and I'm going to get rid of all of this and delete. Now I got to find a 3D model. So let's look. Here is import a component or model. And if I've got plenty of models here. I just don't know if any of them are appropriate for importing. Let's go with this one. Oh, wait a minute. It's starting to fill in the STLs. Yeah, let's do this. Let's do that one. That galloping horse right there. So I'm going to import that. And we get into the import screen as soon as it decides to show up. And here it is. So, and the first thing that you're probably going to look at, let's just start at the top and go down here, is the orientation of the model. Now, we can see there's my material boundary, that red square right there. That's my material. And we can see this thing is huge. We'll fix that in a minute. So we're looking at the top surface of my material, and we can see that this horse is imported nice and flat. And that's what we want. That horse is nice and flat. We want it to be on the surface of our material. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, the horse got imported like that. Well, now we've got to come around here and just click on these orientation points to get it to where it's lying flat and parallel with our material surface. Just so happened that our top orientation, we've got it the way we wanted it. Now, if you want to fine tune that a little bit, that's when we use these rings here. I'll get into those in just a second. Okay. The next thing that you want to look at is the model size. Now we can look at this 303 inches in Y, 414 inches in X. I can tell you right now, this was saved in metric. Those should be millimeters. So Vectric knows this is a common occurrence, so they gave us a button, scale millimeters and inches. So now I just click, and we're sized. It took those measurements and we're sized in inches. Okay, that helps a lot. Now I want to size it to where it will fit in my material block. My material block is 12 by 12. I want to make the biggest measurement down here 11 and a half. So I'll go to this one here and I'll make this 11.5. Now that has sized everything down. I'll click apply and we have it sized to fit in my material. Okay. Now, if I look at this straight from the top, we can see the horses kind of rearing up a little bit, but not much. This is where we can do a little bit of adjusting here. Let's say I want that horse reared up a little bit more. I can take this ring and click on it and drag it. And that rears that horse up just a little bit more. And all I did was click on this ring and drag it. Or I can click on that ring and enter a value here. It's currently at negative 15. Let's go with negative 20 and hit enter. That reared that horse up just a little bit more. So we've got that going. Everything looks good there. My size is okay. I'm going to center the model now. And that centered him vertically and horizontally. And now I'm going to go into position and import. So I'll click into position and import. Now, if I take a look at this just as it is right now, we can see that we've got some bright blue in focus. Then we've got this purplish gray plane right here. This is, in this view, they're calling it a zero plane. This is technically the modeling plane. This decides what is going to be imported, what's going to be visible. And we can see over here in this diagram, it is by default set that plane to the center of the model because it doesn't know what it wants us to or what we want to import. I'm going to drag this all the way to the bottom so that my model is above that plane. Right now, it doesn't matter if that model appears to be thicker or standing proud of this material block. That's fine. We just want all of this model imported into the software. Now, you might not want to import the whole model depending upon the model and depending upon what you want. Go back to a top view here. So I've got my modeling plane here all the way down to the bottom. I don't need to create both sides. I want to discard the data below the zero plane. If there is any portion of the models below this, I want it discarded. I don't want it imported. Highlight undercuts. There are no undercuts on this particular model. Now I can just click import, and that's going to bring that model into my software. And there it is. Imported at the proper angle. It's rearing up the way that I wanted it. And everything is fine. I hope that answers your question. And it doesn't matter where the model came from. If it came from VistaSculpt or another source, it's a straight up STL model. That's how you import it into VCarve or Aspire, either one. And you have all those options available to you. Now, Ed Appleton asks, in Aspire, when you bring in an STL that was created in VistaSculpt, are you able to modify it? Yes, you can. I know in VCarve Pro, you cannot. Thinking about upgrading to Aspire. Okay, let me throw you one question, Ed. How often will you realistically use it? See, I'm not one of those people that automatically says, yes, you need to upgrade to Aspire, because I don't know how you're going to use it. Only you know how you're going to use it. I can tell you a few things or possibly show you a few things that might sway your opinion. But at the end of the day, it's a large amount of money and it's your money. I'm really good at spending other people's money, but I, generally speaking, don't like to do that. You do have a bunch of modeling tools here that you won't find in VCarve. One of those being one of my favorites over here, last row, bottom row, fourth icon in. Our mutual friend Mike Bernasconi uses that as well, uses this icon as well. And that is create a component from the visible model with draft added. You've heard us mention draft. Draft is, let's go back over here for a minute. Draft is an angle that is added around the edges of a model. If you think about something like you want to make a mold from a positive, let's say you're going to cast some resin or something like that. If you make a mold that has sides that are straight up and down, it's going to be very difficult to get that piece out of that mold. But if you have a slight outward angle in that mold, the pieces are easier to pull out. So it's almost just exactly the opposite of a V-carve, but that's kind of what it looks like when you make that mold. You're going to make this model with a slight angle outward at the bottom, and that's going to smooth in a lot of areas. Let's get back over here and I'll show you what I mean. If we come to, let's see, I saw them in the preview. Well, there's some rough edges right there that are kind of ugly. And here's some rough edges here that are very ugly, that stand out as being ugly. Part of that is my modeling resolution. Part of that is just the model. It has something that goes straight up and down, being the hoof. This is what I'm going to show you right now, Jim Brown. What we're going to do is we're going to select that model. Let's take a look over here in the component tree, and we see one, horse A. Let's go back over to the design tab. And now with that model selected, I'm going to click on this one. And it's asking me, how much of a draft angle do I want to add to that model? Doesn't need much. Let's go with 4 degrees. So I'm just going to highlight here, I'm going to tap 4.0. It doesn't need much. Then I click Apply. Now I'm going to go back over here to the component tree, and now I have my horse, and now I have the model with the 4-degree draft. I'm going to turn off my original model, and now we'll zoom in here for a look. My modeling resolution still sucks, but it has cleaned up the edges quite a bit. Might need a little bit more draft, and I think most of this roughness is my modeling resolution, because my modeling resolution is very low because I didn't set this up for 3D modeling. Let me go back here and see what it is. Oh, close. What is my modeling resolution? Yeah, I'm set real low. So adding draft, what it does, it doesn't modify this model. What it modifies is it makes a new model and incorporates that draft. So let's go back over here and let's turn my original horse back on, and I'm going to delete that with the draft. Because 8 center has a good here. Can you define draft, because I'm a bit lost. Let's look at something close up. There I have a straight down vertical edge. I also have them back here and out here. Again, my modeling resolution sucks. But if I come in here, let's go with I'm going to go with an extreme level. Let's go with 25 degrees. So it will show you exactly what it does. And let's click Apply. You see how the base grew and it added that angle, so it's no longer straight up and down. That is adding draft. That is adding draft. Basically what it does is it takes those straight down vertical edges and it adds a bit of an angle to them so they're not so straight up and down. Now, that was too much for this model. That really looks odd. Okay. So what Kurt is asking, is that cumulative? No, it's not cumulative. In order to change this, I now have to close, go back over to the component tree, and I have to delete this because it created a whole new model with that draft added. And John has the better way of describing it. Draft is an outward angle from the top of the model to the bottom of the model. And yes, it is very beneficial when carving with a taper ball nose bit. So, does adding a draft speed up the carve time? With vertical sidewalls, the bit stops. It can speed up the carve time, but I think its effect on the carve time is minimal. I don't know that you'd even really notice it. The plunge rate, I'm sitting here using my hands again, like you can see. The plunge rate of your bit has more of an effect than draft does. Adding draft just makes it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, depending upon the model. But generally speaking, that's done at the end of the modeling process. You get the model built the way you want it. In this case, I have just this horse here. That's my only element in this composite model. So adding a little bit of draft to it It may reduce it in some ways. It may increase it in other ways, just depending upon the model. Okay, here, 8 Center's asking, I would imagine it mostly slows carve time using a ball nose bit. That's debatable. I guess it really depends on the model and how much draft you add. But a bit that's doesn't have to move up to an angle and stop, then retract, then continue on, is going to move slightly slower than a bit that's moving along and then gradually climbs and then goes back up and then gradually decreases. That for that reason, I use I use a 3D tabs when I use tabs, because the axis doesn't have to stop and do that retract and then move over and do that plunge. It never stops moving. And that is true. Not if you have your plunge rate turned up. When you are doing a finishing toolpath, at least me anyway, if I have done a roughing toolpath, I will turn the plunge rate up on that bit to where it's equal to my feed rate, because the CNC router is always going to move at the rate of the slowest axis. So if your plunge rate is 20 inches per minute, doesn't matter what your feed rate is, that machine is going to move at 20 inches per minute. So, but presumably, if the plunge rate is too high, you'll get burn marks if it's too high. That's why it's important to do a roughing toolpath first. If you do a roughing toolpath, you're only leaving a thin skin for that finishing toolpath to remove. I set, for instance, on mine, I set it to where I've only got a thin skin of 30 thousandths of an inch of material to remove with that finishing toolpath. The rest of it is cleared out by the roughing toolpath. It not only prevents any burn marks if I'm going too fast, but it saves wear and tear on that bit. It also protects the tip, because at the end of the day, a 0.5 millimeter diameter tip on a tapered ball nose is still a 0.5 millimeter diameter. And if you plunge it too hard, too fast, or abuse it, you can snap that tip right off. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. So, getting back to my question, when the STL comes over from Virtual Scope, does it bring components to adjust the model? Any adjustment is done in Aspire. You can adjust all kinds of things. You can adjust the base height. You can adjust the shape height. You can get into, let me bring this up full screen again. You can get into your sculpting brushes down here and clean things up. But fair warning, sculpting is an art of its in and of itself. I am no good at it. It's a talent that has to be developed. Jim Brown is asking, if your model has a background, can you remove the background? Yes, you can. What you'll need to do is you'll need to trace the elements that you want to keep. That may mean freehand trace. That may be bitmap tracing. Get into the 3D view here. No, in the 2D view. You'll have to get in here and trace around this. If you have a background, your background will be part of the model. You'll have to get in and trace around it. Then select that vector or those vectors in the case of any little inclusions here. Trace those vectors, then select the model, select those vectors, and you'll want to clear away anything outside of those selected vectors. Generally speaking, however, if you're using VistaSculpt, when you generate the image or load an image, you have an option right down below Generate Image. You have the option to edit that image. There's a background remover tool in that edit image. I'm using the demo, so I don't have that available to me. Use that background removal tool, and that will remove the background from your virtual sculpt model. I find that, VistaSculpt, not virtual sculpt. I find that if you're working with a car or truck, airplane, uh, anything that you want to feature, that the background isn't important. I will remove the background out of anything like that. If there's an element of that background that is important, a person, a thing, a feature, if you're taking a picture of an airplane flying past the Eiffel Tower, for example, you want the Eiffel Tower in there. You want the airplane in there. Then I wouldn't remove the background. But if it's just I've created an image of a pickup truck and that's all I'm interested in is the pickup truck, then I'm going to eliminate the background in VistaSculpt before I even come down here and generate the 3D model. I'm going to edit that image up here. So let me see if I have it available to me. I will go load an image, and I'm going to go into CNC stuff and see if I've got an image here. That doesn't have a background. I'm looking at stuff. Okay, let's go with this lighthouse. So that's the image that I'm importing, okay? Now, I'm not going to do the AI preview because I like the original image, all right? I'll skip the preview. I'm not going to enhance the image, so we'll cancel that. I'm just using this image. Now, I have edit image down here. So I can click on that, and I can decide, do I want to remove the background or not? Now, because I'm using the demo, that's not available to me. Anything with Pro is not available to me. I can crop it. I can rotate. I can mirror. That's all. The rest, I don't have available to me because, again, this is the demo. But the main feature is this lighthouse. The trees are inconsequential to me. This moon is inconsequential to me. Here, I would remove the background. Then again, maybe I don't want to remove the background. Let's figure it out. So I'll cancel that edit. And I'm going to export a 3D model. No 3D model is available to export. Oh, not export. I'm going to generate the 3D model. Holy cow. And we'll see how it goes. Let's see here. Would there be an easy way of splitting a large 3D model into, say, just 4 parts to use as split up drawer fronts to be carved out of 4 bits of MDF? Yes, sir. It's relatively easy. Okay? And that brings up an exploration that I'm going to have to do behind the scenes. Basically because I don't know the answer to it. And here's my question. Maybe somebody with VCarve knows the answer. While this is generating here, this is just you and me talking. I don't know the answer to this question. In VCarve, you can only import one STL. Now, while that's generating, let's jump over here. In Aspire, I can come over here to Sheets, and I'm going to add 2 more sheets that are identical. Come back over here to Design. So I have 3 sheets. I can click on that model and copy to sheet 2 and sheet 3. So now I have that copied onto 3 different sheets. Can that be done in Aspire? Or excuse me, can that be done in VCarve? And here's what I'm asking, because 8 Center brings up an interesting question. We're talking about a case of, no, come on, splitting a large 3D model into, say, just 4 parts to use as split up drawer fronts. So the drawer fronts lined up horizontally, let's say, would be split up it would be split up across the drawer front. So it would look like one image going across. That's interesting, 8 Center. Now, Martin says you can use that STL, that one STL, as many times as you want. So it will copy over to a new sheet. Okay, good. So you could definitely do it in Aspire. I'm wondering, can you do it in VCarve? Because let's say it's not an STL, but let's go with the design and make clip art. We have the, where did I put it? Maybe it's in here. I didn't think it was. Yep, there it is, wildlife scene. I've got this scene here of mountains. Now let me bring that up here. I could put this section of mountains on that sheet, on this sheet, and then this section of mountains on this sheet, and then the last section of mountains on this sheet, so that when I put them all together, it would look like those mountains were going across all 3 drawer fronts on my cabinet. Now, I can definitely do it in Aspire. Can I do it in VCarve? So, okay, my idea is a large dragon, Rosenberg type dragon image, but split into something like 70 drawer fronts. But if the principle is easy enough, the potential is endless. And if you do that, I want pictures. I want pictures. Go to the About page on my YouTube channel, and you'll find my email address. I want pictures of that because that sounds badass. I want pictures. Okay, Jim Brown says, yes, you can. All right. Beautiful. I'm serious. I want photos. That's intriguing as heck. All right, here. Let's see. I'm going to remove that. I'll get back to your question, Thurman Land. I have not forgotten you. Okay. We did that. Okay, Larry got his question answered. Okay. Thurman says, when I import an eagle onto an American flag, how can I realign the stripes to it? At 82 years of age, I forgot how. Thanks. Okay. And then I asked for a little bit of clarification, and because I didn't know if these were 3D models, 2D models, what they were, or 2D vectors. And Thurman did say 2D vector even space stripes around the eagle. Okay, what you would do in this case, Thurman, is select all the stripes. Come back over here to design so I can show you while we're here. Select all the stripes. Then last, select the eagle. Then what you would do is come over to, let me find it, this icon right here, trim selected objects to the last selected objects. You'll click on that. You want to clear inside the boundary. So all of the stripes that are inside that eagle will be trimmed away. That's all you have to do. It will do everything else. Okay? Just select all the stripes, then select the eagle. And it will clear inside the boundary. Everything inside that eagle will be trimmed away. Okay? That's a very common situation, and it's very simple. You talking about using level clipping to split it up, Mark? No, actually, Martin, what I was talking about was, let's take this out of here. Come on, let's delete that horse. Boom. Now, I take this model, come on, and I just drag it down here, like so. Now, if I look at my 3D view, that's the only portion of the model that's being used right there. Okay. Now, let's go back to the 2D view. And I'm going to hold down Control, and I'm going to drag a copy of that up here. And I'm going to move it. Oops. Let me get rid of that horse. Come on. Double click to get into sheet 2. Boom. Delete. Now I'm going to move. Oops, that's part of sheet 1. Ding dong it. Let me go back to sheet 1. Move that copy to. How come I can't move it? Oh, I got to select it. That's why. Right click. Move to sheet 3. Boom. There we go. Now when I go into this sheet, I can drag it so that the next portion of the mountain is here. See what I mean? Yes, but that won't work vertically. It would take a little bit of. Here's what I'm thinking, Martin, and maybe you can. This is the way my brain works. Maybe I'm completely wrong. What you would basically do is you would divide up that model into a grid that you would divide up that model into a grid that reflects the sizes of the drawer fronts that you were going to carve. Okay. And then move the model vertically or horizontally, whatever, so that this particular sheet, each sheet is sized to a drawer front. And you would move that model to where that part that you want is centered over that. Or in Aspire, you could actually dissect the model. I'd copy a vector of the outside border of sheet 1 and copy both to the other sheet. Yeah. There are many, many ways of doing this. Basically, what you're doing is you're dividing up the model over each of the sheets that you want to carve. But it would be a lot of work. it would be a lot of work because that's a lot of different cuts to make. So, yeah, but does this make sense? So that on this sheet, I have that section of the mountains, then go back to sheet 1, and I would have that section of the mountains on sheet 1. Does that make sense? Ultimately, it is easier in Aspire than I don't think so. I think there are some things you could do in Aspire that can't be done in VCarve, obviously. But in this case, I don't know that it would be easier. It would just be different. It would just be different because, for instance, what you could do, let's go here, and I think you can do this both in VCarve and in Aspire. Okay. But let's take a look. You could come here, draw a rectangle, the size of your material. Boom. Okay. Then close that. You can select, and I think you can do this in VCarve too. Select the model, hold down Shift, select the vector. You can't do this in VCarve because you're getting rid of everything outside that vector. And boom, that's gone. So now what you would do, go into sheet 2, and this again is my brain on Mark. I would draw another, no, come on, snap it to the edge. There we go. Draw another rectangle the same size as my material. Boom. And now close, select that vector. Hello, I drew a rectangle. There we go. Close. Then hold down Control, copy, snap to that original one. Come back here, select this one, delete, whoop, Control Z. I just want to delete that vector. There we go. Select the model, hold down Shift, select the vector, clear everything outside. Control Z, select the model, select the vector, delete everything outside. Why are we not doing what I want to do? Why are we not doing what I want to do? Back here. I should be able to select the model, hold down Shift, select the vector, and clear everything outside of this vector. And it deletes the whole model. Okay. Control Z. Let's try something else. Let's get rid of that vector. Now I'm going to select everything. And I move it until that is lined up there. Let's try that. Now, there we go. You had to move everything. Okay. Yeah, not when it's outside the work area. Okay. Thank you, Martin. That's where I goofed. But you see what I'm getting at. So now when all these are lined up, when these two are lined up, because it's not long enough to make three of them, when you place that one over here, back to here, let's do this. Let's go into Sheets, and we'll eliminate Sheet 2. Delete. There we go. That's basic, pretty much how they would lay out. I didn't know you could sort of align and set up sheets in a specific order thing. It takes a little bit of playing around. It takes a little bit of doing, but you see what I'm getting at. So if you wanted to create all of your drawers across the front of a cabinet, bank of cabinets, for instance, or your desk, imagine a desk where you have the tops of the mountains across the top three drawers. I'm using my hands like you can see me again, where you have all three drawers. Um, and so you've got the tops of the mountains across those three drawers. Then you two drawer banks down, you have the bases of those mountains. So it looks like the knee hole is surrounded by these mountains. That would be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool. Boy, did we ever get off on a tangent. But thank you for that tangent. I like stuff like that. This is something that I'm going to have to explore a little bit further in VCarve and Aspire and see if there's an easier way of getting this done. But we've seen that it is plausible. But having said that, the one thing that made this possible for me was this one here, this button down here in Aspire. In VCarve, you would have to do some creative level clipping, and that's a whole nother topic. But again, let me play around with this idea, and we might end up doing something another day in another video. And I love it when you guys give me these kind of things because I really honestly never thought about doing something like that, you know? Um, or cut it out of one big sheet with the whole image and cut out the drawer front. Yeah, you could do that too, but that's kind of cheating, you know? But I get what you're saying, Brooks. But yeah, because when you think about it, Brooks, now that you bring that up, see, and this is why I love you guys. The normal gap on a frameless cabinet, anyway, when you've got full overlay drawers and doors, the normal gap is 1/8 of an inch. So the gap between this drawer front and this drawer front would be about the same as the kerf on a table saw blade. Just saying. Just saying. Just saying. Y'all are great. Okay, well, that is all the questions that I had stored up. If you have any questions at all, by all means, or if I missed your question, let me know. So let me know. Um, I'm I'm kind of with you on this. Um, I'm kind of with you on this, but it's less about trusting the bit. It's more about breaking that sucker trying to set your Z0, you know. Um here we go. Here we go. I'm going to make a dresser for my grandson that is a topographical map over the drawer front. Perfect. I saw that you had a question, David. Let me go back up here and find it. I apologize. The only thing I could tell you is don't get old, David. It sucks. Where was David's question? I saw that up here. Okay. I would like to learn G code and CNC programming. Anyone have a recommendation of where I should start or go to as a beginner? Um, he said, I meant the best resource. And that's a good one. I'd be interested in that too. Um, what your recommendations, folks? If I was a beginner and I wanted to learn G code, where would you send me? What's a good resource to go and learn G code? Um, my first um, um, CNC cookbook. I was trying to think of the name of the website. Um, it's called David. It's called the CNC cookbook, and there are some tutorials there. And in fact, if you do a Google search for learn G code, um, CNC cookbook is one of the first that comes up. There's another one called G Code Tutor. That's the first one that comes up. I don't know anything about G Code Tutor, but the CNC Cookbook is one resource that I have used when I'm tracking down individual codes. Like if someone says, well, yeah, what you need there is an M8. Well, then I got to go look at what an M8 code is because I'm not going to do something that's going to send my machine, you know, wherever. But um, that's where I would start first is the CNC cookbook. And they have tutorials for that. I know just enough G code to be dangerous. You can go your entire CNC career, for lack of a better term, and never get into editing G code. Or you can start your second week. It just depends on how interested you are in getting into the nuts and bolts. Another resource that I'm going to send you to, David, is a gentleman by the name of Milo Scott. Because along with G code, you're going to want to know a little bit about post processors. And Milo Scott, although he'll never admit it and he doesn't like it when people say it, the man is a genius. Um, you'll want a post processor that'll be able to handle the G code that you're going to program or the modifications that you're going to do. So you may never need to get into the post processor, but then again, you might. He has found ways of playing with G code and post processors to make his CNC router do things that other people say that's impossible. You can't do that. At which point he's like, really? Hold my coffee. I don't drink beer. And does it anyway. Um, he just one story he told me. He went to one of the Vectric user group meetings, and he was standing there showing a few people some of his projects. And Edward, the CEO of Vectric, says, "You didn't do that with our software." He says, "Oh, yes, I did." He's like, "No, that's impossible." He says, "Yeah, it's all down to the G code and the post processor you use." Like, you did that with our software. He's like, "Yeah." So, yeah, Milo is a genius, and just a hell of a guy. He's a very nice guy, and is more than willing to talk to anybody. If you're friends with him on Facebook, that's a bonus. If not, he has a group called the Milo Scott Studio. I don't have a link. I'll try to find a link Um, I will try to find a link and put it in the description. I don't know that I have that there. I will also try to find a link to the CNC cookbook and put it there as well. In fact, I'll put the link to the CNC cookbook free tutorials for programming with G code. Um, so I think if that's good, we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. I want to thank everybody for spending part of your Sunday with me. I will give you the results of the poll that I took a couple weeks back. Well, it's been a few weeks back now that I think of it. When I asked about the broadcast time, should I change my broadcast time? I waited a long time to make this public simply because this is where I get frustrated. Okay. I have, and I'm not patting myself on the back, this is just a fact. I have 52,000 subscribers. 91 people voted. That's not even enough to move the needle on when you're talking percentage wise. But your voices were heard, your voices were loud, and I am listening. The time is not going to change. We're going to stay Sunday afternoons, same time, same channel. And the main reason for that is for folks like 8 Center who are in the UK. 1 o'clock noon Pacific is just in the evening where folks in the UK can watch and join in. And I respect you guys, so yes, I'm going to keep this time, not moving. That doesn't mean I won't add another live stream, however. Yeah, Martin says, well, that works for me. Yeah, you've just had dinner and relaxing with a, well, you don't drink either, so okay. Well, so no, the time is not going to change. So we're going to stick with what we've got. Now, another question for you guys. Kurt pointed out that next week is my 300th live stream. And I'm like, well, I didn't think about it. I didn't have anything special planned for a 300th episode. So my question to you is, should I have? Should I do something special? And if so, what? Leave your suggestions down in the comments. Um, yeah, party, but it's only me here. What am I gonna? I can put on a hat and blow on a little thing, you know. But I mean, other than that, just another Pleasant Valley Sunday, you know. So the right people will get that reference. Um, so we'll see. If you have a suggestion for a special episode next week, put your suggestion down in the comments after this live is done. Um, channel members, tomorrow on our members only live stream, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We're going to get into stack text. And depending upon how long that goes, we're going to get into layered projects. For a preview of the kind of layered projects that I'm talking about, go to YouTube, do a YouTube search. I'll put a link in the description as soon as we're done. Look at Alex Fox scroll saw. Look for Alex Fox scroll saw and check out his channel. That's the kind of layered projects that I'm talking about. Oh, heck with it. You've talked me into it. Let me do a little dance. Yeah, the dancing on the table is a no-go. Uh, starting just from the very beginning. Um, Alex Fox scroll saw. And let's bring that over here. Here is his channel. And here is what he does. We're talking multi-layered projects like this. Okay. Some of these, we're talking multi-layered projects like this. And I hope to get into, segue into this. If not, we'll do that the following Monday. So, this is the kind of thing we're going to be talking about after we talk about, I'm not sharing. I am not screen sharing. I'm sitting here showing all this stuff off. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about, multiple layers on various projects. Now, he does all this on a scroll saw. We're going to play around with using these designs for laser and CNC. Look at that parametric skull. You see how it goes together like that. That is so cool to me. Yeah, we're going to talk about it. We're going to get into it, and we're going to see if we can do these on a laser or a CNC router. Now, I know a couple of you have already gone over and have checked out Alex's work, but that's the kind of thing we're going to talk about. So, yeah. How are we going to do all this? What are we going to do for all of this? Well, what we're going to do, you'll have to find out. You'll have to find out. That's tomorrow. Whoops, what happened? How'd that come out of there? That's tomorrow. We're going to do stack text. And then for this time, we'll segue into layered projects. And we'll go from there. If we don't get to that, we will, if we don't get to that, we'll do that next Monday. So how do you find out? You'll have to find out. How do you find out, 8th Center? You become a channel member. This is for members only. I might do this down the road for the public, but you'll have to become a channel member to find out. And the easiest way to become a channel member, the only way to become a channel member, as a matter of fact, is right below this video panel, you'll see the join button. You click on that join button, a panel will pop up and a video is going to play that'll tell you all about channel membership. We have a great group of people. We're right at, we're having a lot of fun. These are some of the best people I've ever met. There's not an ego among them. And they're 100% dedicated to helping one another learn and making one another successful. So that's on the members only side. Well, worth it for even for those of us in the UK. Well, okay, thank you, Martin. I'm glad that you appreciate that. Let's see here. So that's tomorrow, possibly next week as well. In the members only side, they keep changing stuff around at YouTube. Now, check the posts tab on my channel for the link for tomorrow's members only live stream. Next Sunday, I don't know what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to have a special visitor on Wednesday. That's already taken care of. Don't know what we're going to do next Sunday. So that's where I need your help as well. Just let me know in the comments what I need to do for the 300th episode, and I'll see if I can bring it to fruition. But John, sorry. Dancing on the table is a no-go straight from the start. I mean, no, you know, I don't, I don't even stand up on a chair to change a ceiling light bulb. Okay. All right. Other than that, y'all have a great rest of your day. Thank you for spending part of your Sunday afternoon with me. I'll get those links put down in the description just as soon as I can. Until next week, y'all take care. Have a great day. For those of you who are channel members, I'll see you in the chat on Facebook. Thank you for watching. Y'all take care.